Okay, hello second graders. Today we're looking at lesson 6-6. They're asking us to use addition to check subtraction. So we're going to be working with related facts essentially, which we've had lots of practice with. We're going to find that on page 353. So if you can please make sure you have your book out and a pencil. I'm going to go ahead and share my workspace with you here. You can see we are on lesson 6-6 and the page number is 353. Marta is on that page. She has her workspace here. A snake is also part of the picture there. And I'm going to go ahead and read this piece and you can follow along in your book. It says, find 52 minus 24. Use the bar diagram and subtraction frame to help you show and solve the problem. How can you use addition to check your answer? Okay, so we're going to need to use several models here. First, we're asked to use the bar diagram and subtraction frame to help show and solve the problem. So here's my first model, and then here's the other one that they're asking us to fill in. And then to check our work, we're going to be using this addition model here. Okay, so our original problem, once again, is 52 minus 24. I'm going to go ahead and come to my first frame here. And if you can also write in 52 minus 24. Okay, so I have my tens place here and my ones column here. Now, I know when I'm using this model, I'm going to be starting always in my one space. So I go to my one space and I have 2 minus 4. If I have 2, I know I can't take away 4. So my next step is to regroup. I'm going to go next door to my tens place. I have a 5 right there. There's 5 tens. And because I'm borrowing 1, I'm going to take away that 5 and it's going to turn into a 4. Okay. I'm borrowing 1 10. Okay, where's that 10 going? Well, I'm taking it next door and I'm adding it to this 2 that's already there. So now instead of 2, I have 12. Okay, so that's 12 take away 4 is what I now have. All right, so now I have enough. I can just scoop up 12 and count back. 11, 10, 9, 8. Okay, so I'm left with 8. Now we're in our tens place. We have 4 minus 2. 28 is my total. Okay. All right, so the other piece that I need to show this same thing in is my bar diagram. But before I do that, I'm going to look at my next diagram here, which is an addition diagram. And what they essentially want us to do is use this with a related fact in order to check our answer. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to show you a strategy. I'm going to take my addition answer and I'm going to float it up to the top, just like a balloon. Okay, so I take my answer, I float it up to the top like a balloon. And now my first add-in is 28. Okay, and to 28, I'm going to be adding 24. Okay, so if you look here, I'm essentially taking the two smaller numbers, 24 and 28. I'm adding them, and if everything is correct, then I should get 52, right? Because I'm working with related facts, 28 and 28, 24 and 24. So my answer should be 52. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start in my ones place. I have 8 plus 4. That gives me a sum of 12. I know I can't put 12 here because it's 2 digits, right? So I have to put my 1 up in the tens and my 2 down below in the ones. Okay, and now in my tens place, I have 1 plus 2, which gives me 3, plus 2 more, which gives me 5, for a total sum of 52. And sure enough, it matches, right? So there are my related facts. Now I can use this information to fill in my bar diagram. Okay, I know that the whole is always going to be the biggest number. So in this case, that number is 52. And then these two pieces are what I put together to get 52. Okay, so I had to put together 28 and 24 to get that answer. 28 is part 1, 24 in part 2, and that gives me a total of 52. Okay, so there we go. We're using addition to check our subtraction problems today. Okay, let's go ahead, take a look at the boxes on the top of the next page. It says, remember that addition and subtraction are related. So you can add to check subtraction. The problem here is asking us to find 24 minus 9. Okay, so our problem is 24 minus 9. We have it set up here. And when they do the math, they see if you start in the ones place, you had 4 minus 9. You know, if you have 4, you can't take away 9. So the next step is to regroup. They went next door to the 2, crossed it out. They borrowed one of those 10s. So now they had 1 10 left, right? You see that okay? They had 1 10 left here. And then that 10 that they borrowed gets added to the 4. So now instead of 4, I have 14. Okay, and the ones place now becomes 14, take away 9, which gives me a sum of 5. And 1, take away nothing, I can just bring it right down, gives me 1. Okay, so now I can see that my answer is 15. All right, so that's the first part, is to just do the regular subtraction there. But the next thing I'm going to need to do is add to check my answer. Okay, so again, that strategy is to take the answer and float it up to the top, just like a balloon. And now I have 15 plus, I'm going to add that 9. Okay, now if I do everything correctly, I should get the same answer, 24, right? As what I started with in my subtraction problem. Okay, let's see. I have 5 plus 9, that equals 14. I can't write the whole 14, it's 2 digits, so I need to bring my first digit, my 1, up to the tens, bring my 4 down. And now in my tens, I have 1 plus 1, and that gives me 2, for a total of 24. Okay, so I've checked it, and I see all my numbers match, so it is a related fact. And when I plug this answer into my bar diagram, again, the whole always is the biggest number. So in this case, that's 24. And then the two parts are the two numbers that I needed to combine in order to get 24. And in this problem, it's 9 and 15. Okay, all right, let's take a look at the next box. Find 52 minus 17. Okay, so we have 52 minus 17 set up here. You can see I start in my ones place. I see 2 minus 7. I know that I don't have enough 1, so I need to go next door. I'm going to cross out the 5, and that's going to become a 4 now because I'm borrowing 110. And the 110 that I borrow gets added to the 2, so now I have 12. Okay, so now my ones place is 12 minus 7. That I can do. 12 minus 7 gives me 5. And in my tens place, I have 4 minus 1, which gives me 3. So I have a total difference of 35. Now to check it with my addition problem, I'm going to float that 35 up to the top. 35 plus, I'm going to add 17. Okay, and if my calculations were correct, I should get 52. That's what I started with in my subtraction problem, right? So I have 35 plus 17. I'm going to start in my ones place. 5 plus 7 equals 12. I know I can't put my 2 digits here, so I'm going to bring my 1 up to the top and my 2 down below. And now in my tens place, I have 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 more is 5, for a total of 52. Okay, so I see 52 and 52, 17 and 17, 35 and 35. Those are related facts. Okay, and when I take that information and I put it into my bar diagram, again, the whole is always the biggest number, that's 52. And the two parts are what you put together to make that whole. And in this case, it was 17 and 35. Okay. All right. So the basic math part of it, I know that you guys all have the skills that you need to get through each problem. The challenging part on these ones are just slowing down enough to make sure that you're following each step and you're not skipping any steps. Okay. And that comes with practice. So let's go ahead and get some guided practice to begin with. Number one, it's asking us to subtract. Then it wants us to check our answers by adding. And finally, to write the missing part. Okay, so again, we have three things that we're going to be responsible for. So number one, I see my problem is 32 minus 13. I start in my ones place, right? And there I have 2 take away 3. I know I can't do that. I don't have enough ones. So I'm going to go next door to my tens. Right now I have 3 tens, but I'm going to borrow 1. So that 3 is going to become a 2. And the 10 that I borrowed is going to be added to that 2, which makes 12. So now in my ones place, I have 12 minus 3, which gives me a difference of 9. And in my tens place, I have 2 minus 1, which gives me 1. Okay. Now I'm going to check it with my addition problem. So I'm going to take that 19 and I'm going to float it up. Okay. And now I have 19. And I can see that to my 19, I'm going to be adding 13. And if my calculations are correct, I should be getting 32 for my difference. So let's check. I have 9 plus 3 in my ones. That gives me 12. I can't put 12 here because it's 2 digits. So I'm going to put my 1 in my tens place and my 2 down below in my ones place. And now in my tens place, I have 1 plus 1 plus 1, which gives me 3. Okay, so if I take a look at my parts to whole chart, they will give you the whole and they will give you part 1, and all we have to do is figure out what part 2 is. Okay, so again, the whole is always the biggest number, that's 32. And then the parts are the 2 numbers that you needed to put together to get 32. So part 1 is 13, which means part 2 has to be 19. Okay, all right. Let's take a look then at number 2. 78 minus 49. So again, I'm going to start in my ones. My ones says 8 minus 9. Well, if I only have 8, I can't take 9 away. So my next step is to regroup, right? I have a 7 in the tens place, but I know I'm going to be borrowing 1. So I'm going to take that 7 away. If I borrow 1, I'm going to be left with 6. And that 110 that I borrowed is going to get added to the 8. So now instead of 8, I have 18. Okay, so now my ones place is 18 minus 9. 18 minus 9 leaves me with 9. And in my tens place, I have 6 minus 4, which gives me 2, for a difference of 29. Okay, my next step is going to be to check my subtraction with addition. Okay, so again, the first thing I'm going to do is take that answer, which is 29, and float it up to the top. So here I'm going to write 29, and to that 29, I'm going to add 49. And if everything works out and my calculations are correct, I should get 78 because it's a related fact, right? So let's look at our ones place. I have 9 plus 9. That gives me 18. I can't write 18 down here. It's too many digits. So I'm going to put my 1 in my tens place and my 8 down below my ones. And now in my tens place, I have 1 plus 2 plus 4. So 1 plus 2 gives me 3, plus 4 more gives me 7, for a sum of 78. And you can see all of my numbers match the related facts. So I know that my calculations were correct. And then my last step is to take these and plug them into the parts to whole chart. So again, the whole is always going to be the biggest number. In this case, it's 78. If part 1 is 49, then that means part 2 has to be 29. Those were the two numbers that I had to put together. I added them in order to get to 78, right? Or 49 plus 29. Okay. Good work, guys. So it's a lot of steps, okay? I want you to be patient with yourself and slow down. And if it's helpful to do, let's say maybe you do 3, and then like you take a little break, maybe get a drink of water, right? Take a breathing break, and then kind of regroup and come back and do the other 3. That could be helpful too. For some of you, that'll be helpful. For others of you, it'll be more helpful to go all the way through, and that's great too. Let's just go ahead and get started with number 3, kind of give you some support. So I'm doing 52 minus 27. When I start in my ones place, I see 2 minus 7. I know I can't do that. So I'm going to go next door to my tens. I have 5 tens right now, but I'm borrowing 1. So now instead of 5 tens, I only have 4 tens. And that 10 I borrowed, I'm going to add to the 2. So now instead of 2, I have 12. 12 take away 7 gives me 5. And 4 take away 2 gives me 2. Okay. And then the new step that we just learned today is in order to check with addition, I'm going to take that sum or difference and I'm going to float it up to the top. So I'm going to write 25 plus 27 and I'm going to add those two numbers. Okay, and if all of my calculations are correct, I should get 52 that I started with in my subtraction, right? So let's check. 5 plus 7 gives me 12, right? So I can't write 12 down here, too many digits. That one will come, the 1 will come up to the tens and the 2 will stay in the ones. And then in my tens, I have 2 plus 2, which gives me 4, plus 1 more, which gives me 5, 52. So everything matches. It's a related fact, and my calculations are correct. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add it into my bar diagram. Okay, again, the whole will be the biggest number, and the parts will be the two numbers that I added or put together to get 52. So in this case, it's going to be 27 and 25. All right. Well, we just did the whole first one, which I didn't expect to do, but that's okay. You guys will have 5 more to do on your own. Get some more practice. Again, my main thing that I would encourage you to keep in mind is just to slow down and take it one step at a time. And if you find yourself getting lost or thinking, what comes next? I'm not quite sure. It's okay to go back and use what we did in the practice to kind of help you to remember what comes next. Okay, you can use that as a reference point. All right, guys, and then we'll be practicing more of these in our Google Meets. Okay, I hope that you guys have a really great rest of the day. I will see you very soon. And until then, take care. All right.